I never thought I'd burn my own brother's empire to the ground, but when he laughed in my face, called my quaint little Etsy shop dreams a joke while pocketing the check I'd forged my life around, I realized mercy was for suckers who hadn't tasted real betrayal. That night, as sirens wailed through the Vegas Strip like the ghosts of every bad bet I'd covered for him, I slipped the USB drive into my pocket, the one with the digital noose I'd been weaving for years. And just like that, with one anonymous tip to the SEC, I watched the first crack spiderweb across his glass throne. It started in the sticky summer of '09, back when we were still the O'Connells of Reno. Me, Fiona, the fixer. Him, Declan, the dreamer who'd always needed a parachute. Mom had died in a car wreck when I was 16, Dad buried in his mechanic shop grease, so it was us against the world. Or so I thought. Declan was the golden boy, all charm and half-baked schemes, dropping out of UNR after one semester to chase the startup dream. I was the grindstone, community college paralegal courses by day, slinging drinks at the Peppermill by night. When he came crawling home with stars in his eyes about some app that had revolutionized microlending for gig workers, I didn't roll my eyes. I believed him. Hell, I bankrolled him. That first investment? My entire savings, $15K scraped from tips and skipped meals, funneled into his FinFlow prototype. He promised equity, a co-founder spot, the works. But Declan had a way of rewriting history. Fiona, you're the steady one. This is my vision. Yours is that cute candle-making side hustle. Candles. Yeah, because nothing says American dream like hawking soy wax melts on Etsy while your brother schmoozes VCs in Silicon Valley. I laughed it off then, told myself it was sibling ribbing. But deep down, the seed of doubt took root, watered by every late-night call where he'd beg for just one more bridge loan to tide him over. By 2012, FinFlow was humming. Early users in the Bay Area, a seed round from some angel investor who'd mistaken Declan's blarney for brilliance. I visited him in his Oakland crash pad, a converted warehouse buzzing with code monkeys and Red Bull cans. He clapped me on the back, grinning like a shark. Sis, you're a saint. Without your kickstart, I'd be flipping burgers. I waved it off, but inside, something twisted. Where was my name on the org chart? My cut of the pie? He brushed it aside. Equity's tied up in the round. Trust me. When we IPO, you'll be set for life. Trust him. God, what a fool. Life back in Reno ground on. I pivoted from candles to a full-blown online boutique. Fiona's Finds, handmade leather goods sourced from Navajo artisans, shipped nationwide. It was modest, sure, $50,000 in revenue that first year, enough for a down payment on a tiny bungalow off McCarran. Declan mocked it relentlessly during our calls. Leather wallets? In 2013? Come on, Fee, get with the times. Apps are the future, physical stuff's for dinosaurs. His jabs stung, but I swallowed them, sent another $20,000 when his servers crashed and the VCs ghosted. That money? From remortgaging the house Dad left me. Collateral on a dream that wasn't mine. The betrayal didn't hit full force until 2015. FinFlow rebranded to Apex Lending, snagging a Series B from a Sand Hill Road heavyweight. Declan flew me out for the celebration. A rooftop bash in San Francisco, champagne flutes clinking under the Golden Gate's fog. He was electric, arm around some venture partner's daughter, whispering about unicorn status. I cornered him by the railing, the city lights blurring below. Deck, the equity papers, when do I sign? His face flickered, just for a second, like a bad connection. Then the grin. Fee, about that. The lawyers said family investments complicate things. Tax headaches, you know. But hey, I named the employee wellness program after Mom, Fiona's fund. Isn't that sweet? Sweet. It was a gut punch. I'd covered his ass since we were kids, forged that excused absence note in high school, so he could sneak off to Tahoe with his buddies, taken the fall for the shoplifted six-pack at the corner store, even shouldered the blame when Dad found out about his joyride in the old Ford. And now? Erased. Invisible. I flew home numb, staring at the Sierras from the window seat, vowing it was the last time. But vows are cheap in America, where family ties bind tighter than barbed wire. Apex Lending exploded after that. By 2018, they were valued at $50 million, predatory loans dressed up as empowering fintech for the underbanked. Declan on every podcast from How I Built This to TechCrunch Disrupt, spinning yarns about bootstrapping from nothing. Nothing. I'd hear snippets on my commute to the expanded warehouse for Fiona's finds, now a seven-figure operation with a small team of local seamstresses, ethically sourced, community first. Customers loved the story. Single woman from Reno building an empire one stitch at a time. If only they knew the half of it. The secret I buried? It wasn't just the money. In 2014, when Apex was hemorrhaging cash, Declan called in a panic. "Fee, I need a favor. Big one." Turns out, he'd cooked the books, falsified user metrics to hook that Series A. If the auditors dug, it'd be fraud charges, orange jumpsuits, the end. So I did what any sister would. Hacked together a shell LLC under my name, funneled consulting fees, threw it to launder the discrepancies. It was a crime, plain and simple, wire fraud. Maybe even racketeering if the feds got nosy. But I ate it, told myself it was temporary. He swore he'd square it, make me a silent partner with veto power. Lies, all of it. By the time the IPO whispers started in 2020, my LLC was dissolved, records scrubbed, and I was left holding the bag of potential indictments. COVID hit like a freight train. Fiona's finds tanked, supply chain snapped, e-commerce flooded with cheap imports from Alibaba. I laid off half my team, cried in the shower over eviction notices for the warehouse. Declan? Thriving. Apex lending pivoted to PPP loans, raking in government subsidies while small businesses like mine drowned. He wired me $10,000 once, for old times, with a note. "Hang in there, Candle Girl. Real money's in the cloud." I wanted to scream into the void. Instead, I started digging. It took months, late nights with a bottle of bourbon and a VPN, piecing together emails from his old Gmail, server logs I'd backed up from that consulting era. The noose tightened, not just my investment, but layers of deceit. He'd poached my artisan contacts for Apex's ethical branding campaign, undercut my suppliers to cut costs. Worse, the fraud? It traced back to a whistleblower tip he'd buried. Some junior dev who'd OD'd on fentanyl, ruled as suicide. Declan had paid off the family, but the kid's laptop? It was in my attic, stashed when I'd cleaned his place after a bender. Encrypted drive full of incriminating code. By 2023, Apex was a $180 million behemoth. Declan on Forbes 30 under 40, married to that VC daughter, popping champagne in a Pacific Heights mansion. I drove out for what I told myself was closure, a family visit. He greeted me at the door in joggers and a hoodie that cost more than my monthly rent, the house a shrine to excess. Abstract art from Basel, a wine cellar humming with Napa cabs. Over takeout poke bowls, he leaned in, eyes gleaming. "Fee, I've been thinking. You should come on board, head of community outreach. Pays 6 figures, flexible hours for your hobbies." Hobbies. The word landed like spit. I smiled, steel in my gut. "Declan, remember that $15,000? The $20,000? The LLC?" He waved it off, chuckling. "Water under the bridge, sis. We're family. Can't put a price on that." Family. The word curdled. That night, in his guest room overlooking the bay, I plugged in the laptop. One email to an old paralegal buddy at the DOJ, anonymous tip, FinFlow origins. Attached, redacted docs, just enough smoke. By morning, I was on the road back to Reno, radio blasting Springsteen, the weight lifting like fog off the lake. The fallout started slow, a stock dip, a Bloomberg squib about regulatory scrutiny. Declan called, voice tight. "Fee, you hear about this Apex bullshit? Some hack job." I played dumb, heart pounding. "Weird, right? Hope it's nothing." He laughed it off, but I heard the edge. Weeks later, the subpoena hit. SEC raid on his offices, headlines screaming fintech fraud. Apex Lending's house of cards. His board scattered like roaches, investors sued. He texted me at 2 a.m. "What the fuck, Fiona? This you're doing?" I didn't reply. Instead, I rebuilt. Fiona's finds relaunched with a vengeance. Pop-up shops in Vegas, collabs with indie influencers, a pivot to sustainable tech accessories that married my leather roots with smart fabrics. Revenue climbed, not to $180 million, but to something real. $2 million, debt-free, with a foundation helping laid-off seamstresses retrain in coding. Poetic, huh? Eat your heart out, brother. But Declan wasn't done. Cunning as a coyote, he flipped the script, leaked family drama to a podcaster, painting me as the jealous has been sabotaging his success out of spite. My sisters always resented my wins, he drawled, voice cracking for effect. That initial investment? A gift, not a loan. She's twisting it now because her little shop's failing. The internet ate it up, Reddit threads calling me a bitter Karen. TikToks roasting Fiona the fraud. Sponsors pulled from my site. A supplier ghosted. Rage boiled, but I held. Revenge isn't a sprint, it's a marathon with landmines. We met in neutral territory, a dive bar off the strip, neon buzzing like angry hornets. He slid into the booth, looking haggard, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes bloodshot from depositions. Fee, call it off. I'll cut you in, 20% of whatever's left after the lawyers. 20% of ashes? I sipped my whiskey neat. You mocked me, December. Called my life a joke while building yours on my bones. He leaned forward, voice low. Bones. I gave you purpose. Without me, you'd still be pouring drinks in Reno. Purpose. The word ignited something feral. I slid a USB across the table, the full drive, unredacted. Your purpose ends here. Whistleblowers going public tomorrow. The OD kid? His family's lawyered up. His face drained, realization dawning like a gut shot. The $180 million empire, built on my sweat, my silence, my crimes, crumbling. He grabbed my wrist, pleading. Sis, please. We're blood. Blood. Thicker than water, thinner than greed. I pulled away, standing tall. Blood washes off. Outside, the desert wind howled, carrying the faint wail of slot machines. Victory tasted like ash, sweet, choking. But as I drove into the night, phone buzzing with settlement offers from his crumbling kingdom, I wondered, was I the villain now? The fixer turned destroyer? America loves a redemption arc, but mine felt more like a revenge porn loop. Endless, divisive, impossible to look away from. The call started at dawn, Declan's number lighting up my screen like a bad omen. I let them roll to voicemail, his messages a descending spiral. First indignant, you owe me an explanation. Then wheedling, let's talk this out, Fee. Family first. Finally broken, I can't lose everything. Not like this. By week 3, the feds had frozen Apex's assets. His wife filed for divorce citing irreconcilable fraud, and the podcaster who amplified his sob story got sued for defamation when the OD kid's sister went on 60 Minutes with the laptop's decrypted files. Irony's a bitch. The very gift he'd dismissed was now the noose. I threw myself into the rebuild. Fiona's finds hit a groove. Our new line of RFID blocking wallets went viral on Instagram, racking up 50K orders in a month. I hired back my old team, poached a marketer from a floundering WeWork knockoff, even landed a spot on Shark Tank's Where Are They Now segment. Kevin O'Leary called my pivot shrewd as hell. Tossing out a deal I turned down flat. No more partners. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. Reno buzzed with whispers, locals toasting Fiona's comeback at the Calneva, while out-of-towners Googled Apex lending scandal and stumbled on my name in the fine print. But guilt gnawed like termites in drywall. Late nights, I'd scroll Declan's X feed before he locked it down, staring at old photos. Us at 6 and 8, building forts in Dad's shop. Him at graduation, me cheering from the bleachers with a bouquet I'd bought myself. Was I dismantling a monster or euthanizing a brother? The media split the narrative down the middle. CNBC framed it as sibling showdown, the fintech betrayal, with pundits debating if I'd committed ethical vigilantism or straight-up extortion. Fox called me a woke avenger, weaponizing the system against job creators. MSNBC painted Declan as the poster boy for unchecked bro-culture greed. Reddit's r/Wall Street bets memed us endlessly. Me as the leather-clad fury, him as Icarus with a blockchain wing melt. He showed up unannounced in July, pounding on my bungalow door as thunder rumbled over the mountains. I peered through the peephole. Declan, gaunt in a rumpled button-down, duffel slung over his shoulder like a refugee. Against my better judgment, or maybe out of that cursed blood tie, I let him in. The living room smelled of sage from my last artisan shipment. He collapsed on the couch, head in hands. They're coming for me, Fee. Indictment next week. 10 years, minimum. His voice cracked, and for a flash, he was 18 again, sobbing over Mom's casket. I poured coffee, black as tar, and sat across from him. You built this, December. The lies, the shortcuts, my shortcuts. He looked up, eyes feral. Your shortcuts? You think I wanted that? The pressure. The VC's breathing down my neck. I did it for us, for the O'Connell legacy. Legacy. What a crock. Our legacy was Dad's calloused hands and Mom's laugh lines, not some app that preyed on payday loan desperate folks in Compton. We talked, or argued, for hours, the storm lashing the windows like Judgment Day. He flipped narratives like a pro, first blaming the system, Wall Street chews up dreamers, then me, you enabled it. Why bail now? Finally himself, I got lost in the shine. It was classic Declan, maze of mirrors, always a way out. By midnight, he was pitching a Hail Mary. We team up. You testify it was all your idea, the LLC, the metrics. I flip, give you immunity. We split the restitution pot. Split it. After he'd mocked my small-time hustle while siphoning my blood money, rage surged, hot and biblical. I grabbed his duffel, shoved it at his chest. Get out. Your empire's ash. Deal with the wind. He lunged, grabbing my arm, face twisting into something ugly. You bitch. Without me, you're nothing. A Reno nobody hawking trinkets. The slap echoed before I registered my hand moving. His cheek bloomed red, shock widening his eyes. For a heartbeat, we froze, brother and sister, monsters in domestic skin. Then he laughed, bitter and broken, backing toward the door. Karma's a circle, Fee. Watch your back. He vanished into the rain, taillights fading down the cul-de-sac. I bolted the door, heart hammering, but sleep evaded me. Dawn brought a package on the porch, no return address, just a manila envelope thick with paper. Inside, photocopies of my old LLC filings, annotated with yellow highlighter, felony aider/abetter, and a USB labeled Fiona's Secrets. My stomach dropped. Declan, ever the schemer, had counterdug. The drive held emails I'd forgotten, my panicked replies to his fraud pleas, wire transfer confirmations in my name. Blackmail. Pure, venomous payback. Panic clawed, but I didn't crumble. I called my DOJ contact. Turns out, she'd been waiting for this. Bring it in, Fiona. We can leverage it. Your cooperation seals his fate. Wipes your slate. Leverage. The word tasted like surrender, but what choice? America runs on deals, not justice. I drove to the federal building in Carson City, the Sierras mocking my descent with their indifferent peaks. Handing over the envelope felt like exhuming a corpse, my complicity laid bare, cold under fluorescent lights. The twist hit like a sucker punch that fall. Apex's autopsy revealed not just my buried sins, but Declan's masterstroke, a hidden Cayman shell company, funneled profits offshore, shielded from the raid. Worse, the whistleblower kid? Not a random OD. Declan had him on payroll as a fixer, silencing complaints from over-leveraged borrowers who'd lost homes, lives. Suicides plural, buried in NDAs. And me? I'd signed one unknowingly, back when I consulted on user agreements. The feds flipped it. I wasn't just a dupe. I was a cog in a machine that crushed the working stiffs I claimed to champion. Public opinion shattered. My Shark Tank clip resurfaced, now with captions, Hypocrite Hustler. Fiona's fines funded by fintech felonies? Sales tanked 40%. Protesters picketed my pop-up in Boulder, chanting blood leather. Declan, from his halfway house cell awaiting trial, granted a jailhouse interview to Vice. My sister's no victim. She's the architect. We built Apex together, brick by bloody brick. Lies, half-truths, the full flip. He positioned himself as the fall guy, me the Machiavellian puppeteer. Fans flooded my DMs, half-death threats, half-marriage proposals from true crime stands. I was viral villain, the American anti-heroine no one could pin down. Isolation set in, a velvet cage. I shuttered the warehouse, worked from a coffee shop in Virginia City, ghost town vibes mirroring my unraveling. Dreams haunted, Declan's slapback echoing, Mom's wreck morphing into my LLC papers crumpling in flames. Was revenge justice, or just another con? The climax brewed in a Reno courtroom. November 24, Declan's arraignment. Media circus under the biggest little city's faded glamour. I took the stand as the star witness, sworn in with a Bible that felt like lead. The prosecutor painted me redeemed. Ms. O'Connell, you bore your brother's burdens, until you couldn't. Declan, in orange jumpsuit, locked eyes across the room, his gaze ablade, pleading, accusing, daring. My testimony spilled like confession, every wire, every white lie. The night I chose fire over forgiveness. The gallery gasped at the fraud details. A juror wept at the borrower's suicides. But when cross-exam came, Declan's lawyer pounced. Ms. O'Connell, you profited too. $500K in consulting fees rerouted to your shop. Wasn't this a partnership in predation? The room tilted, murmurs rippled. I met his eyes, voice steady. It was survival. He took my trust. I took it back. Truth, weaponized. Half the courtroom nodded, the other half sneered. As gavel fell, bail denied, trial set for spring, the divide cracked wide. Outside, reporters swarmed. I slipped through a side door into the sagebrush dusk. A text from an unknown number, Declan's burner. You win, sis. But the real twist? Mom's wreck wasn't an accident. Dad's brakes, sabotaged by her lover. I covered for him. Your fixer gene? Inherited. The words blurred, world spinning. All these years, the secret I'd buried wasn't his fraud. It was family rot deeper than I knew. Mom's death, the catalyst for our codependence, twisted by Declan's omission. Or lie. I dropped the phone, knees buckling against the adobe wall. Revenge's pyre consumed us both. Victor and vanquished, blurred in the smoke. Was I free, or just the next ghost in the machine? Winter clamped down on Reno like a vice, snow blanketing the streets in false purity while the scandal festered. Declan's text looped in my skull, a Mobius strip of doubt. Mom's wreck, Dad's brakes, a lover's shadow. I drove to the old shop that night, headlights carving tunnels through the flurry, the building a husk, foreclosed after Dad's heart attack in 18. Inside, ghosts lingered, oil stains on the concrete like Rorschach sins, toolboxes gathering dust. I pried open his desk drawer, fingers numb, unearthing a lockbox I'd forgotten. Inside, faded Polaroids, Mom laughing with a stranger, tall, dark-haired, not Dad. And a mechanic's report, yellowed, tampering suspected, brake lines severed. Dad never mentioned it. Suicide note pinned to his workbench, forged grief, or cover for murder. Declan knew, had always known, and weaponized the silence, binding me tighter in our toxic tango. I burned the photos in a coffee can, flames dancing like accusations, ashes scattering into the storm. No cops. This was O'Connell business, buried with the bones. Spring thawed the trial into a three-ring circus. Vegas courthouse, jury of gig economy vets and retired miners. Judge a no-nonsense Latina with a gavel like Thor's. Declan, cleaned up in a suit that screamed, reformed, played the prodigal. Mea culpas to the borrowers, teary nods to the dead dev. His defense hammered me as Lady Macbeth, the paralegal who lawyered the loopholes, the sister who sabotaged for spite. Evidence mounted. My emails, fix it quick, Dec, before the audit. Bank statements showing loans to Fiona's fines that smelled like kickbacks. The prosecutor countered with his flips, offshore accounts in Mom's maiden name, NDAs shredded to reveal coercion. I watched from the gallery, a ghost in my own story, as witnesses piled on. The dev's sister, raw-eyed. He told me Apex was saving lives, until the debt collectors showed. A Compton mom, evicted via Apex's Algo. Fiona's wallets in my purse, irony much? Her ethical brand, funded by my tears. The room polarized, jurors shifting, reporters tweeting feverishly. Fiona versus Declan trended, with AIs generating deepfake debates. Me versus him in a virtual Thunderdome, leather whip against blockchain sword. Mid-trial, the real gut-trencher dropped. Declan's lawyer subpoenaed Dad's autopsy. Heart attack ruled natural, but tox screen flagged trace antifreeze. Chronic exposure, the expert droned. Consistent with sabotage over months. Eyes turned to me. The dutiful daughter who'd handled Dad's meds after Mom. Whispers, did I know? Enable? The courtroom air thickened, ethical quicksand sucking us under. Declan caught my stare, mouthing, your move, cunning fox, flipping the board again. I took the stand uncalled, a voluntary Hail Mary. Your Honor, the defense twists grief into guilt. I buried Dad's pain, not his life. I unpacked it all, the shoplift cover, the forged notes, the LLC as love's fool's errand. Declan mocked my dreams, small business advice he called it, while stealing them. But I enabled, yes. For the sins, yes. Revenge? Not spite, reclamation. The jury leaned in, faces a mosaic of empathy and suspicion. No clear heroes, just flawed Americans clawing for the dream, trampling kin in the scrum. Closing arguments cleaved the soul. Prosecution, O'Connell's, a cautionary tale of greed's family cost. Defense, Fiona's vendetta, from victim to viper. Verdict deliberations stretched 3 days, the city holding breath like a blackjack dealer mid-shuffle. I holed up in a Tahoe cabin, bourbon by the fire, scrolling fan theories. Fiona's the real CEO, Shadow Empire. Versus Lock Her Up Too, Complicity Kills. Guilty on all counts, fraud, wire, manslaughter via negligence on the Dev. Declan sentenced to 15, no parole. The gallery erupted. Cheers from victim's kin, sobs from his ex's camp. He stood, unflinching, but his eyes, locked on mine, held no hate, just hollow recognition. We matched, Fee, he murmured as marshals led him away. Matched, twins in the mirror of our making. Outside, flashbulbs blinded. I pushed through to a waiting van, my PR flak barking damage control. Fiona's finds rebounded overnight. Redeem Fiona merch flying off virtual shelves, a Netflix true crime pitch landing in my inbox. Success, Pyrrhic and glittering. But the twist lingered, festering. That night, alone in the cabin, I decrypted the final file from the lockbox. Mom's diary, hidden in Dad's tools. Entries scrawled in her looping hand. Affair confessed, lover's threats, a plea to Declan. Tell your father, or I will. The wreck? No accident. Pushed off Black Rock Curve by the jilted paramour, a highway patrol buddy Dad had fired over stolen parts. Declan hadn't covered. He'd confessed to me, 8 years old, in whispers by her grave. Mom's gone cause of secrets, Fee. We keep ours, or we're next. I'd forgotten, repressed, the pact that forged us. His fraud? Echo of that silence, my enabling the chorus. We weren't villains or victims. We were echoes, generational curse in cowboy boots. Summer bloomed bloody. I sold Fiona's finds to a Patagonia-like collective, ethical exit, $15 million payout, enough to fund scholarships for borrowers' kids. Reno faded in the rear view as I headed east, chasing absolution in anonymous cities. But Declan's letters from Lompoc prison arrived weekly. Not pleas, but mirrors. You think you're free? We're the same, builders, breakers. Right back, sis. Finish the story. I burned them, unopened, but the ash clung. America devours its outlaws, spits out legends. Was my revenge catharsis or contagion? The debate raged online, dinner tables, barstools. Fiona right or wrong? No answer, just the hum of a nation hooked on the gray. Fall 25 painted the Midwest in bruise hues as I wandered. Chicago first, then Nashville, a ghost tour of Heartland Hollows. The payout bought freedom. No schedules, just dive bars and backroads. Journaling the O'Connell Odyssey in a Moleskine scarred like Dad's workbench. Netflix greenlit the docuseries. Empire of Kin, the apex fall, casting some ingenue as me, a smarmy bro as Declan. I consulted remotely, vetoing the tragic anti-hero gloss. Make it messy. No tidy bows. They loved it. Controversy clicks. Declan's appeals dragged, each filing a barb. Motions citing my bias, testimony, amicus briefs from fintech PACs decrying witch hunts. He flipped again in a prison interview with The Atlantic. Contrite sage now, blaming systemic pressures while slipping shade. Fiona's strength is her flaw. Unyielding, like our mothers. Mom. The diary's ghost-haunted, her words a litany of regret. Secrets breed monsters. I birthed two. Had she seen it in us kids, the fixer and the fabulist, doomed to duel? Backlash crested with the series trailer. Viral clips of reenacted boardroom stares, my voiceover intoning. Blood built it, blood burned it. Team Fiona surged, Etsy knockoffs of revenge wallets, trending, justice for debt counters with fundraisers for his legal fees. I lurked anonymously, heart a battlefield. A Nashville bartender, grizzled vet with tattooed knuckles, poured my third Jameson. Heard your tale on the radio. Brother sounds like my CO, charmed the brass, left us in the shit. You did right, darling. Family's just DNA with grudges. Right. The word mocked. In a Fleabag motel off I-40, I finally replied to Declan's last letter. Mom's diary. Why hide it? His response, postmarked from the pen's bowels, because truth's the ultimate betrayal, fee. Dad killed himself over her affair. Antifreeze in the coffee, slow poison. I found the note, burned it. Told you the pact to protect him, us. Your crimes for Apex? Same instinct, shield the flawed. Dad, murderer? The piece is slotted. His rage is post-wreck. The shop's decline. That final heart attack a coward's out. I'd borne his silence too. The fixer gene of familial noose. Nausea rose. I puked into the motel's porcelain, bourbon burning twice. Declan enclosed a photo. Us at 4 and 6, Mom's arms around, Dad's shadow long in the frame. We're the survivors, sis. End the cycle, or perpetuate it. The debate ignited anew. Podcasters dissected. Fiona's revenge, feminist triumph, or fraternal filicide? Ethicists at TEDx Reno framed it as the cost of complicity in Capital's carnival. I tuned out, drove south to the Gulf, salt air scouring the wounds. In Biloxi, a casino glow called, ironic siren, the strip's echo. Slots chimed like false promises. I fed a machine 20s, chasing the dopamine of risk. A high roller beside me, silver fox in a Stetson, nodded at my haunted stare. Look like you lost more than money, miss. I laughed raw. Empire. Brother. Soul. He bought my next drink, spun yarns of Gulf oil booms and busts. America's addiction, darlin'. Builds kings, buries fools. By last call, we'd swapped numbers. He was Harlan, shrimper turned solar entrepreneur, all drawl and decency. No schemes, just quiet company. Fishing at dawn, blues on the dock radio. For weeks, it was bomb. No fixes, no flips, just the tides in different rhythm. But ghosts intrude. Harlan's questions peeled layers. What did he take that you can't get back? Trust, I whispered. The core. Declan's trial appeal hearing loomed. Virtual circus I joined from Harlan's trawler office. Screen split. Judge's bench. Declan's orange glow, my Reno feed. His lawyer pivoted masterfully. New evidence. Familial collusion predating Apex. Ms. O'Connell's knowledge of paternal crimes taints her credibility. The diary pages flashed, redacted but damning. Gasps virtual, chat exploded. I countered live, collusion, protection. Like every immigrant family, every blue-collar grind, we bury to build. The judge adjourned, face stone, motion denied. Proceed to sentencing review. Post-call, Harlan wrapped me in a flannel hug. You're carrying the whole damn ocean, Fiona. Ocean. Weight of waves. Mom's push, Dad's poison, Declan's deceit, my enabling inferno. That night, under Mississippi stars, I confessed the full rot. He listened, no judgment, just a fisherman's nod. Sins of the father, darlin'. But you chose light over the deep. Light, fleeting as fireflies. The series premiered to Emmy's buzz. Climax my courtroom soliloquy edited for chills. Viewers split. Bar fights in Brooklyn over Fiona's feminism versus Declan's disruption. Therapy sessions unpacking O'Connell OCD. Obsessive complicit disorder. I cashed a residual check, wired half to the victim's fund, $7.5M, a drop in the dead ocean, but mine to give. Declan wrote post-premiere. They got it wrong, no winners. But you're the twist. Not revenge, revelation. Forgive me, Fee. Or don't. Just live. Forgiveness, a loaded gun, safety off. I boarded a flight to Lompoc. Harlan's goodbye kiss lingering like brine. The prison visit room hummed sterile. Declan across plexiglass, thinner, eyes clearer. Sis. One word, chasm bridging. We talked hours. Mom's lover unmasked as the patrolman. Dad's confession in that burned note. I ended her lies. Now mine. Declan had shielded me from the horror, forging our fixer pact. My apex complicity. Mirror of his silence. Love's lethal loop. I mock your advice cause I envied it, he admitted. Small, real. Mine was smoke. Smoke that built $180 million, then choked us. As buzzer sounded, I pressed palm to glass. Twist, we're both right. Both wrong. He nodded, tears tracking. Outside, Pacific fog rolled, blurring the line between cage and coast. Winter circled back, a vengeful loop, as I returned to Harlan's bayou. The shrimping life grounded me. Nets heavy with bounty, sunsets bleeding red over the water like unwritten endings. Fiona's finds thrived under new stewards, my name a brand badge, empowered by grit. Royalties trickled, but money was moot. Absolution was the currency now. Declan's sentence stuck. 15 years, model inmate, teaching coding to cons. His letters evolved, not mirrors, but maps. Read, the brothers Karamazov, Fee. We're Alyosha and Ivan. Faith versus doubt, bound by blood. I did, under mosquito netting, Harlan snoring beside. The book cracked me open. Familial guilt as eternal vendetta, redemption in the gray. Harlan proposed over gumbo 1 Lundy Gras. Ring a plated shrimp net cord, simple as salt. No empires, just us. Marry the mess. I said yes, tears salting the stock. Wedding small, Gulf shore, witnesses the crew, vows exchanged with waves crashing chorus. In sickness, schemes, and scandals, Harlan quipped. Laughter rippled, light piercing the pall. But America doesn't forget, it remixes. A 2026 bombshell, whistleblower redux, ex-Apex exec spilling that Declan had greenlit the dev's suicide via spiked fentanyl. Insurance policy on silence. Feds reopened, upgrading to murder one. Declan called from solitary. Not me. Fee. Board vote. I abstained. Abstained. Complicit cowardice, again. The media frenzy reignited. O'Connell octopus, tentacles of treachery. My inbox flooded. Producers pitching sequels, lawyers offering class actions. Harlan barricaded the dock. Let the tide take it, darling. I flew west one last time, Lompok's gates yawning like judgment. Declan, shackled, looked spectral. Twist finale, they'll pin it on me. Save yourself. His eyes begged the old pact. Fix it, sis. But I was done. No more shields. December. Face the flood. As guards led him, he whispered, Love you, Candle Girl. Mockery reclaimed, tender now. The indictment dropped. Guilty plea, life without. No appeal. He'd flipped on the board, trading souls for solitude. Victims' families sued the remnants. My foundation footing legal aid. $10M dispersed. Homes rebuilt in Compton row houses. Harlan and I decamped to a Keys cottage. Conch shells for wind chimes. Solar panels humming quiet power. No kids, too scarred for that echo. But rescues. A litter of mutts. Chaos as therapy. Years blurred. Harlan's solar co-op boomed. Green energy for Bayou Poor. I wrote a memoir, stitched in shadow. A fixer's reckoning. Bestseller in the dark ambition aisle. Proceeds to ethics watchdogs. Readers debated epilogue dinner parties. Fiona's happy end. Earned or escaped? Controversy's cradle, rocking eternal. Declan died in 32, stabbing in the yard. Shiv over snitched secrets. Prison justice, poetic slash. His last letter, smuggled. End well, sis. We burn bright, don't apologize. I scattered ashes off Black Rock Curve. Mom's ghost sight. Harlan's hand steady in mine. Wind took him, indifferent as karma. Now, at 48, porch swing creaking under Keys' palms, I scroll the feeds. New scandals, old echoes. Fiona's finds a B Corp giant, scholarships in my name. Harlan grill snapper, dogs at our feet. Revenge? A decade's dream, waking to this, flawed peace, sides undefined. America argues on. Was it triumph, tragedy, or just Tuesday? I sip sweet tea, smile secret. The real twist, no one's asking anymore. We've moved to the next con.